Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the English Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Lilly, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you joining me today. This is going to be quite the journey, so I hope you've grabbed yourself a comfortable seat because we're about to explore something really transformative together. You know, I get messages almost every single day from people who ask me the same question. Lilly, how do I actually become fluent in English? I've tried so many things, watched countless videos, and downloaded multiple apps, but something just isn't clicking for me. And honestly, I completely understand where they're coming from because I've been there myself. Learning a language is intimidating, especially when you don't have a clear roadmap of where you're actually going. That's why I decided to create this episode. Today, we're going to walk through something I call the 7 levels of English mastery. This isn't just another grammar lesson or vocabulary dump. No. What we're doing here is creating a progressive framework that shows you exactly where you are in your English journey, where you need to go, and most importantly, how you're going to get there. Whether you're picking up English for the very first time or you're already at an advanced level trying to smooth out those final rough edges, this episode has something valuable for you. Let me tell you why this matters. I've worked with thousands of English learners from all over the world. I've taught in classrooms, worked one-on-one with students, and I've observed patterns in what actually works and what just wastes your precious time. The biggest revelation I had was this. Successful learners don't jump around randomly. They move through English systematically, building strong foundations before they try to tackle complex structures. It's like building a house. You don't start with the roof. You begin with the foundation, then the walls, then the doors and windows, and only then do you think about all those decorative elements that make it beautiful. So here's what we're going to do today. We'll explore all 7 levels in depth. Each level builds on the previous one, and each one gives you practical examples you can use immediately. We'll work through sample conversations, mini stories that illustrate important points, and real-life scenarios you're actually going to encounter. By the time we finish this episode, you'll have a crystal clear understanding of where you are, and more importantly, you'll have a concrete action plan for moving forward. Let's begin at the very beginning. Level 1 is all about laying that crucial foundation. This is where English learners discover that they can actually communicate, even with just a handful of words. It's the level where confidence is born, where you realize that making mistakes doesn't mean failure, it means you're actually trying. At level 1, we focus on the absolute essentials. We're talking about basic greetings, simple introductions, fundamental questions, and the most common everyday phrases that will get you through the first interactions in English. These might seem incredibly simple if you've already been studying for a while, but let me tell you something important. These foundations are absolutely critical. I've seen advanced learners falter in basic conversations because they never took time to truly master these fundamentals. So let's give them the attention they deserve. Imagine you're walking into a coffee shop and someone says, "Hi there," in English for the first time. What goes through your mind? For many beginners, it's a mixture of excitement and panic. But what if you had a reliable script in your head? What if you'd practiced these moments so many times that they became automatic? That's what level 1 gives you. Let's start with the simplest greetings. Hello is your foundation. It's neutral, it's respectful, and it works in almost any situation. When someone greets you with, "Hello, how are you?" the automatic response is, "I'm fine, thank you. How are you?" Now, this might sound robotic if you just read it, but the magic happens when you practice it until it becomes natural. You say it with a smile, with genuine interest in your tone, and suddenly it's not robotic anymore. It's human connection. Here's a level 1 conversation that happens thousands of times every single day.
Good morning. My name is Marcus. What's your name?
Hello, Marcus. I'm Sophia. It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Sophia. Where are you from?
I'm from Brazil. And you, where do you come from?
I'm from Turkey. This is my first time in this city.
Oh, that's wonderful. I hope you enjoy it here.
Notice something important in this exchange. Each line is simple, but they follow a natural pattern. There's a greeting, an introduction, a question, and a response. When you practice variations of this, your brain starts to recognize the pattern. Soon, you don't need to think. The words just flow. Level 1. Vocabulary and Phrases. At this level, you're building a starter vocabulary of maybe 500 to 1,000 words. These aren't random words either. These are the words that appear in the vast majority of English conversations. Words like is, are, the, and, to, I, you, he, she, like, have, want, need, eat, sleep, work, play, home, school, family, and friend. The key at this stage is frequency. You want to be learning words that you'll actually use. There's no point in memorizing obscure words for animals you'll never see or technical terms you'll never need. Focus on high-frequency words and your English will improve dramatically faster. Let me give you some practical Level 1 phrases you should know cold. My name is. This is your identity in English. Practice with different names. Where are you from? This opens conversations with new people everywhere. What is your job? Understanding what people do for work is fundamental. Do you have brothers or sisters? Family questions are universally important. What do you like to eat? Food conversations are safe, friendly, and useful. What's the time? Practical information you need daily. Can you help me? Essential for getting assistance. Thank you and you're welcome. Politeness opens doors. Now, let's look at a more complete Level 1 story. I want you to follow along and notice how the story uses only simple present tense, short sentences, and basic vocabulary. The Morning Routine Story. Every morning, a man named David wakes up at 6 o'clock. He brushes his teeth and takes a shower. Then he eats breakfast. He drinks tea and reads the newspaper. At 7 o'clock, he takes a bus to his office. He works as an accountant. His office is in the city center. He arrives at 8 o'clock. His colleague, Maria, greets him. "Good morning, David," she says. "Good morning, Maria," David replies. They work together in the same department. At lunch, they eat in the office cafeteria. David likes rice and vegetables. Maria likes sandwich and fruit. They talk about their families during lunch. In the afternoon, they continue working. At 5 o'clock, the office closes. David takes the bus home. He arrives home at 6 o'clock. He is tired, so he rests. He watches television and eats dinner. At 10 o'clock, he sleeps. This is David's typical day. Level 1 Questions and Answers. Let's practice some basic question and answer exchanges. These are the building blocks of Level 1 conversation. Question: What is your name? My name is Jennifer. I come from Canada and I work as a teacher in a primary school. Question: Do you have a family? Answer: Yes, I have a mother and a father. I also have one brother and one sister. My brother is a doctor and my sister is a student. What do you do in the morning? Answer: I wake up at 6 o'clock. I take a shower and eat breakfast. I drink coffee and read the news. Question: Where do you work? Answer: I work in a school. I teach English and mathematics to young children. I like my job very much. What do you eat for lunch? Answer: I eat different things. Sometimes I eat soup and bread. Sometimes I eat rice and chicken. I always drink water.
Question: do you have a pet?
Answer: Yes, I have a dog. His name is Max. He is very friendly. I like to play with him in the evening. The beauty of these exchanges is that once you practice them enough times, they become automatic. Your brain doesn't have to work hard to produce them anymore. This frees up your mental energy to focus on new challenges at higher levels. At level 1, we focus on the most common verbs and use them only in their simplest form. Here are the verbs you absolutely must master. Be, am, is, are. This is the most fundamental verb. I am happy. She is a teacher. They are students. Have, has. For possession. I have a car. He has a sister. They have a house. Do, does. For questions and negatives. Do you like coffee? She does not like coffee. Like, for preferences. I like music. He likes sports. They like reading. Work, for occupation. I work in a bank. She works in a hospital. Live, for residence. I live in New York. He lives in a small town. Study, for education. I study English. She studies medicine. Eat, for food. I eat breakfast. He eats lunch at noon. Sleep, for rest. I sleep 8 hours. She sleeps early. Go, for movement. I go to school. He goes to work. They go to the market. Level 1, common mistakes to avoid. As you practice level 1, there are some common mistakes that I see repeatedly. Let me point these out so you can avoid them from the start. Mistake 1, using is instead of are with plural subjects. You might say they is students, but the correct form is they are students. The verb be changes with the subject. I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are, they are. Practice this pattern until it's automatic. Mistake 2, forgetting the S on third-person singular verbs. You might say, he go to school, but it should be, he goes to school. When the subject is he, she, or it, you add an S to the verb in present tense. She like coffee should be, she likes coffee. Mistake 3, trying to use the same word order as your native language. In English, the basic order is subject, verb, object. I eat rice. In your native language, it might be different, but in English, we follow this pattern consistently. Don't say, rice I eat, say, I eat rice. Mistake 4, not using articles, a, and, the, when you should. This is tricky because not all languages use articles. In English, you usually need them. I am teacher is wrong. I am a teacher is correct. I like music needs an article sometimes, depending on context. Mistake 5, overthinking before you speak. This is the biggest mistake of all. At level 1, you need to build confidence more than you need to build accuracy. Yes, your grammar won't be perfect, but speaking with confidence and small errors is better than staying silent because you're afraid of making mistakes. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Level 2, expanding your world. Okay, so you've mastered the basics. You can introduce yourself, you can talk about your daily routine, and you've stopped being terrified of basic English conversations. Welcome to Level 2, where things start getting interesting. At Level 2, we're still keeping things relatively simple, but now we're adding more complexity, more nuance, and more flexibility. You're moving from I am a teacher to I have been teaching for 5 years and I really enjoy working with students. See the difference? At level 1, we stay in the present moment. At level 2, we start expanding into descriptions, routines, and slightly more complex thoughts. The importance of daily routines. One of the most powerful things you can do at level 2 is to develop the ability to describe your daily routine in detail. Why? Because this is something you do every single day, so you can practice English constantly. You're making breakfast? Describe it in English. You're getting dressed? Talk about it in English. You're commuting to work? Narrate it in English. Let me give you a detailed level 2 routine description. My daily routine. I wake up every morning at 6:30. The first thing I do is drink a glass of water and take a shower. I usually spend about 20 minutes in the bathroom. After my shower, I go to the kitchen and prepare my breakfast. I like to eat oatmeal with fresh fruit and a cup of green tea. While I'm eating, I check my phone for any messages from friends and family. At 7:30, I get dressed for work. I put on my professional clothes because I work in an office environment. By 8 o'clock, I'm ready to leave home. I take the train to work because it's faster and cheaper than driving. The train journey takes about 30 minutes. I use this time to listen to podcasts or read a book. I arrive at the office at 8:30, which gives me 30 minutes before the workday starts. At the office, I have a cup of coffee with my colleagues. We usually talk about what we did the previous evening or what we're planning to do. At 9 o'clock, the work begins. I spend most of my day answering emails, attending meetings, and working on projects with my team. At 1 o'clock, we have a lunch break. Some days I bring lunch from home, and some days I go to the restaurant downstairs. In the afternoon, the work continues. I usually feel a bit tired around 3 o'clock, so I take another cup of coffee. By 5 o'clock, the workday ends. I pack my things, say goodbye to my colleagues, and head home. The evening is my personal time. I cook dinner, watch television, or read a book. Before I go to sleep, I prepare clothes for the next day. I usually go to sleep at 10 o'clock because I need 8 hours of sleep to feel fresh. Questions and answers at level 2. Now let's move into level 2 conversations. These include more follow-up questions and more detailed answers.
Tell me about your job. What do you do?
I work in an advertising company. I'm a graphic designer, which means I create visual designs for our clients. I design logos, brochures, websites, and marketing materials. I really enjoy the creative aspect of my work, though sometimes the deadlines are quite stressful.
That sounds interesting. How long have you been working there?
I've been working there for 3 years. Before that, I studied graphic design at university for 4 years. So I've been in this field for quite a long time now. I like the variety because every project is different.
What's your typical day like?
I usually arrive at the office at 9 o'clock. The first thing I do is check emails and messages from clients. Then I start working on design projects. I use computer programs to create the designs. Sometimes I have meetings with clients to discuss their requirements. I take a break at lunch, and then I continue working in the afternoon. I usually leave the office at 6 o'clock.
See how this conversation has grown? We're still using relatively simple grammar, but we're sharing more information, providing more context, and having a more natural back-and-forth dialogue. Level 2 stories and scenarios. Let me share a level 2 story that incorporates the routines and conversations we've been discussing. The coffee shop meeting. On a Monday morning, Jennifer arrives at her favorite coffee shop. The coffee shop is called The Brew House, and she comes here almost every morning. The owner, a friendly man named Tom, greets her as soon as she walks in. "Good morning, Jennifer. The usual?" he asks with a warm smile. "Yes, please, Tom. 1 cappuccino and a croissant," Jennifer replies. She finds a comfortable seat by the window. While she's waiting for her coffee, she notices her friend Marcus sitting at another table. Marcus is reading a newspaper and drinking black coffee. Jennifer waves, and Marcus stands up and joins her at her table. "Hi, Jennifer. How are you doing?" he asks. "I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? How was your weekend?" Jennifer responds. Marcus tells her about his weekend activities. He went hiking with his family, and they had a wonderful time in the mountains. He says the weather was perfect, and they took many photographs. Jennifer shares her own weekend experience. She stayed home and did some gardening. She planted new flowers in her garden and cleaned her house. She says she enjoyed the quiet time at home. Marcus says he understands because he also likes peaceful weekends sometimes. They talk for about 20 minutes, discussing their upcoming week, their work, and their plans for the future. Before Marcus leaves, he asks Jennifer if she wants to go out for dinner on Friday evening. Jennifer agrees enthusiastically. They decide to go to the Italian restaurant near the office. They arrange to meet at 7 o'clock on Friday. Both of them are looking forward to it. Jennifer finishes her coffee, and Marcus finishes his newspaper. They exchange a warm goodbye, and Marcus goes to work. This story includes routines, descriptions, conversations, and simple narrative elements. All of these are essential Level 2 skills. Level 2 Grammar. Moving beyond present tense. At Level 2, we start introducing other tenses, especially the past tense. The simple past tense is crucial because you need to be able to talk about things that happened. Here's how it works. For most verbs, you simply add ed to create the past tense. I walked from I walk, I talked from I talk, I helped from I help. However, there are irregular verbs that don't follow this pattern. These are common verbs like go becomes went, eat becomes ate, drink becomes drank, sleep becomes slept, and see becomes saw. Here's a Level 2 story using past tense. Last Saturday's adventure. Last Saturday, I decided to do something different. I called my friends and asked if they wanted to go on a hiking trip. Everyone agreed, so we planned everything that evening. We prepared snacks, packed backpacks, and checked the weather forecast. The next morning, we met at 7 o'clock at the meeting point. We drove to the forest for about 2 hours. When we arrived, the scenery was beautiful. The trees were tall and green, and we could hear birds singing. We started our hike slowly because it was quite hot. After about an hour, we found a beautiful spot by a small river. We decided to rest there and have breakfast. We ate sandwiches and drank juice. Then we continued hiking for another 2 hours. Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we reached the top of the mountain. The view was incredible. We could see the entire valley from up there. We took many photographs and enjoyed the moment together. After about 1 hour at the top, we started to hike down. The journey down took less time because it was easier. When we reached the bottom, we were all tired but very happy. We drove back home, and I slept very well that night. Common mistakes at Level 2. At this level, learners often make these mistakes. Mistake 1. Mixing present and past tense in the same story. You might say, last week I go to the market and I buy vegetables. But it should be, last week I went to the market and I bought vegetables. Once you establish that you're talking about the past, keep using past tense. Mistake 2. Not memorizing irregular verbs. These are frequent, so you need to know them automatically. Don't say, I good, say, I went. Make flashcards if you need to. Mistake 3. Using the wrong prepositions. In English, we say at home, at work, at school, in the morning, in the afternoon, on Monday, on the weekend. These don't always make logical sense from other languages' perspective, but you need to learn them. Mistake 4. Not adding details to your stories. Level 1 is simple, but Level 2 should have more colors, more emotions, more details. Don't just say, I went to the market. Say, last Saturday morning I went to the local market. It was busy because it was a holiday weekend. I bought fresh vegetables and fruits. Welcome to Level 3, where things start getting personal. You've mastered introductions and routines, but now we're going to explore how to talk about what you like, what you don't like, how you feel, and what matters to you. This is where English becomes more than just a practical tool. It becomes a way to express who you are. Expressing preferences and dislikes. At Level 3, you need a rich vocabulary for preferences. You don't just like things anymore. You can say, I absolutely love, I really enjoy, I prefer, I don't mind, I'm not very keen on, I can't stand, I really dislike. These different levels of preference allow you to express yourself with much more nuance. Here's how you can talk about preferences at Level 3. Conversation. Food preferences.
What kind of food do you prefer? Are you a vegetarian or a meat eater?
I'm not a strict vegetarian, but I really prefer plant-based meals. I love vegetables, especially when they're fresh. My favorite vegetables are broccoli, spinach, and carrots. I absolutely love cooking with them. However, I also enjoy chicken and fish sometimes. I don't really like beef or pork. I find them a bit too heavy.
That's interesting. What about desserts? Do you like sweet things?
Oh, yes, I absolutely love desserts. I'm particularly fond of chocolate. I could eat chocolate every day if I could. I also really enjoy fruit-based desserts. I prefer homemade desserts over store-bought ones because they taste better. My mother makes the most delicious apple pie, and I love eating it.
What about drinks? Coffee or tea?
I'm a tea person, to be honest. I prefer herbal teas over black tea. My favorite is chamomile tea. I drink it in the evening to relax. I'm not a big coffee drinker, though I do enjoy a cappuccino occasionally. I prefer my tea without sugar.
This conversation shows how Level 3 allows you to express preferences with specific reasons and examples. Talking about emotions and feelings. One of the most important aspects of Level 3 is the ability to talk about emotions. Emotions make us human, and being able to express them in English is crucial for real connection. Here's how you can talk about emotions. When you're happy, I feel so excited about my new job. I'm absolutely delighted. I'm over the moon. I feel wonderful. I'm thrilled to see you. When you're sad, I'm feeling quite down today. I'm a bit depressed. I feel heartbroken. I'm devastated. I'm feeling low. When you're anxious, I'm really nervous about the presentation. I'm quite worried about the exam. I feel stressed. I'm anxious about the future. I'm apprehensive. I was shocked. I was completely stunned. I couldn't believe it. That surprised me. I was astonished. Let me give you a Level 3 story that explores emotions. The job interview. Sarah had been unemployed for several months, and she was feeling increasingly discouraged. However, last week, she received a call from a company she had applied to, asking her to come for an interview. She felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. She couldn't believe that she finally got the opportunity. On the day of the interview, Sarah woke up very early. She felt very nervous, so she had breakfast to calm herself down. She spent a lot of time choosing what to wear because she wanted to make a good impression. As she was driving to the company, she felt anxious. She kept thinking about all the possible questions they might ask her. When she arrived at the office building, she felt her heart beating fast. She took a deep breath and walked in. The receptionist was friendly and warm, which made Sarah feel more comfortable. She sat in the waiting area and looked at the other candidates. She felt nervous because they looked confident and experienced. However, she reminded herself that she was qualified for this position. When her name was called, Sarah felt terrified, but she stood up and walked into the interview room with a smile. The interviewers were very kind and asked her about her experience, her strengths, and her goals. Sarah answered honestly and tried to relax. As the interview progressed, she started feeling more confident. By the end of the interview, she was feeling optimistic. As she drove home, Sarah felt tired but hopeful. She told her mother about the interview, and her mother hugged her. Sarah's mother said, "I'm so proud of you for facing your fears." Sarah felt grateful for her mother's support. Now she is anxiously waiting to hear if she got the job. This story shows how emotions can be woven throughout a narrative, making it much more engaging and relatable. Level 3 Conversations, Deeper Discussions. At Level 3, conversations start to have more depth. People aren't just exchanging information, they're sharing thoughts, discussing reasons, and exploring ideas together. Conversation about learning English.
Why did you decide to learn English? What's your motivation?
That's a great question. I started learning English because my dream is to travel around the world. I realized that English is spoken in many countries, and knowing English would help me communicate with people wherever I go. Additionally, most of my favorite movies, music, and books are in English. I wanted to enjoy them without subtitles or translations. My parents also encouraged me to learn English because they said it would help me get better job opportunities in the future.
That makes sense. How long have you been learning English?
I've been studying English for about 5 years now. I started in high school, and I continued after graduation. I've attended classes, watched online videos, and read books. I've also tried to practice speaking with native speakers whenever I get the chance. The learning journey has been challenging sometimes, but it's been very rewarding.
What do you find most difficult about English?
Honestly, the most difficult part is pronunciation and listening comprehension. English pronunciation is quite different from my native language, and sometimes I struggle with certain sounds. Additionally, when native speakers talk quickly, I find it hard to understand every word. However, I'm improving gradually through practice and exposure.
What advice would you give to someone who is just starting to learn English?
I would advise them to be patient with themselves. Learning a language takes time, and they shouldn't expect to be fluent in a few months. I would also recommend practicing speaking as much as possible because that's how you build confidence. They should watch English movies, listen to English music, and read English books. Most importantly, they should enjoy the learning process. If you enjoy it, you'll stick with it.
See how this conversation involves personal experience, advice, and deeper reflection? This is much more sophisticated than Level 2. Level 3 Grammar, Introduction to More Tenses. At Level 3, we introduce the present perfect tense, which connects the past to the present. This is important because it allows you to talk about experiences and activities that started in the past and continue to the present, or activities that happened at an unspecified time in the past. I have been learning English for 5 years. Started 5 years ago, still continues. I have visited many countries. I have never tried sushi. Never in my life. Have you watched the new movie? This tense is more complex than the simple past, but it's essential for Level 3 conversations. Level 3 stories continued. Let me give you another Level 3 story that incorporates the present perfect tense. The cooking journey. Maya has always loved cooking, but she never had the time to really explore it until recently. 3 years ago, she decided to take a cooking class at the local community center. She has been learning different cooking techniques ever since. Over these 3 years, Maya has cooked many different dishes from various cuisines. She has tried Italian, Mexican, Indian, and Thai cooking. She has learned how to make pasta from scratch, how to prepare authentic curry, and how to make spring rolls. Each cuisine has taught her something new about flavor combinations and cooking methods. Her family has been very supportive of her cooking hobby. They have tasted all of her experiments, and they have been honest about what works and what doesn't. Her husband has even learned some cooking techniques from watching her. Her children have also joined some cooking sessions, and they have developed an interest in cooking themselves. Recently, Maya has been considering opening a small catering business. She has discussed this idea with her family, and they have been very encouraging. She has already tested a few recipes on some friends, and their responses have been positive. She has saved some money for the project, and she has been researching the requirements for starting a business in her area. Maya says that cooking has changed her life in many ways. She has discovered a passion, made new friends at cooking classes, and strengthened her family bonds. She has also become more confident in herself. She believes that if she can learn cooking, she can accomplish anything she puts her mind to. This story shows how the present perfect tense allows you to talk about extended experiences and their relevance to the present. Level 4. Capability, obligation, and real-life situations. We're now at level 4, and things are getting quite sophisticated. You're no longer just talking about yourself and your routines. You're starting to navigate real-world situations. You're asking for help, expressing what you can and can't do, discussing what you have to do and what you don't. This is where English becomes practical in the truest sense. Modal verbs. Can, can't, could, couldn't. Modal verbs are absolutely essential at level 4. These small words pack tremendous power because they allow you to express ability, possibility, permission, and obligation. Let's start with can and can't. These express present ability. You can use them like this. I can swim. This means you have the ability to swim. I can't drive. This means you don't have the ability to drive. Can you speak French? This asks about someone's ability. I could run fast when I was younger, but I can't now. This compares past and present ability. Here's a level 4 conversation using modal verbs. Conversation. Abilities and skills.
I need to find someone who can help me with my website. Can you build websites?
I can do basic website design, but I can't do complicated programming. I can use website builders like WordPress and Wix, which makes the process easier. However, if you need custom coding, I can't help you with that. I could recommend a developer who is really good at that.
What about graphics? Can you design logos?
Yes, I can design simple logos, and I could create social media graphics for you. I can also resize images and edit photos using basic tools. However, I can't do 3D design or video animation. Those require specialized skills that I don't have.
This is helpful. How much experience do you have?
I've been doing web design for 3 years, so I could help you with a basic website. I can also train you on how to update your website if you want to do that yourself. I couldn't work on your project immediately, but I could start in 2 weeks.
Must, have to, must not, don't have to. These verbs express obligation and lack of obligation. Must and have to are quite similar, though have to is more commonly used in everyday English. I have to wake up early for work. This is an obligation. I must study for the exam. This is an obligation. You don't have to buy a gift. This means it's not necessary. You must not touch that. This is a strong prohibition. He doesn't have to come to the meeting. This means his presence is not necessary. Here's a level 4 story incorporating these modal verbs. The busy week. On Monday morning, Robert looked at his schedule and felt quite stressed. He had to attend a business conference all week, which meant he had to wake up at 5 o'clock every morning. He had to pack for 5 days, and he had to arrange transportation to the airport. His wife said to him, "You don't have to worry about everything. I can handle the household while you're away." Robert felt grateful. He said, "I must leave the keys with you, and I must show you where I keep the emergency contacts." His wife said, "Don't worry, I've done this before. You must make sure you have all your documents for the conference." At the conference, Robert had to attend multiple sessions every day. He had to take notes and had to participate in discussions. Some sessions were mandatory, but some were optional. He didn't have to attend the evening social events, but he decided to attend them anyway because they were good for networking. By Friday, Robert was exhausted. He had attended 15 sessions, had to give a presentation, and had to have many conversations with business contacts. However, he also felt accomplished because he had learned so much. He didn't have to stay for the closing ceremony on Friday evening because his flight was early in the morning. When he arrived home, his family welcomed him. He told them about his week, and they listened with great interest. He realized that although the week was tiring, he must continue attending these conferences because they were important for his career development. Level 4 Conversations in Real-Life Scenarios. Let me show you several Level 4 conversations that you might encounter. Scenario 1. At the doctor's office.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Patterson. What seems to be the problem today?
I'm not feeling well. I have a terrible headache that started yesterday, and I also have a slight fever. I tried taking some medicine, but it didn't help much. I'm worried it might be something serious.
I see. Let me examine you. Can you describe the headache? Is it constant or does it come and go?
It's pretty constant, though it's worse in the afternoon. I also feel quite tired and don't have much appetite. I couldn't sleep well last night because of the headache.
I understand. Based on my examination, I believe you have a viral infection. The good news is that you don't have to worry too much. Most viral infections get better on their own within a few days. However, you must rest and drink plenty of water. You should also avoid strenuous activities for the next few days.
Do I have to take any medicine?
You can take over-the-counter pain relievers to help with the headache. You don't have to take antibiotics because this is a viral infection, not a bacterial infection. If your symptoms don't improve in a few days, you must contact me again.
Scenario 2. Booking a hotel.
Good evening. Welcome to the Grand Hotel. How can I help you?
I'd like to book a room for next week. Do you have availability from Monday to Wednesday?
Let me check. Yes, we have several rooms available. What type of room would you prefer? We have single rooms, double rooms, and suites.
I think a double room would be fine. I'm traveling with my spouse. Can you tell me about the amenities? Does the room have Wi-Fi?
Yes, all our rooms have free Wi-Fi. You also have access to our gym, our swimming pool, and our restaurant. Breakfast is included with your booking.
That sounds great. What time can we check in? Do we have to check in at a specific time?
Check-in is from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but you can check in earlier if a room is available. Checkout time is at 11 o'clock in the morning. Do you have any other questions?
What about parking? Do we have to pay extra for parking?
Parking is complimentary for our guests. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Level 4 Grammar. At Level 4, we introduce the continuous tenses, which describe actions that are in progress at a specific moment. The present continuous describes what's happening right now or at this moment in time. I am writing an email right now at this moment. She is cooking dinner. They are watching a movie. What are you doing? The past continuous describes what was happening at a specific time in the past. I was sleeping when he called. I was in the middle of sleeping when he called. She was cooking when the power went out. She was in the middle of cooking. They were talking when I entered the room. They were in the middle of talking. Here's a level 4 story using continuous tenses. The unexpected event. Last Saturday evening, Sarah was preparing dinner while her husband was working in his study. Their children were playing video games in the living room. Everything seemed normal and peaceful. Suddenly, Sarah heard a loud noise coming from outside. She was stirring the sauce when she heard it. Her husband was writing an email when he heard the noise. The children were concentrating on their game when their parents called them. The whole family went outside to investigate. As they were looking around, they noticed that a tree had fallen on their neighbor's car. Sarah was calling the emergency services while her husband was checking if anyone was injured. The children were watching with wide eyes, trying to understand what had happened. Within 15 minutes, the fire department and police were arriving. The neighbors were standing outside, and everyone was discussing the incident. As the rescue team was removing the tree, Sarah was offering coffee to the firefighters. Her husband was helping to move debris. By the time everything was cleaned up, it was already 9 o'clock at night. The family was exhausted. As they were sitting down to eat the delayed dinner, they were grateful that no one was hurt and that their own house was safe. Level 4 Common Mistakes. At Level 4, learners often make these mistakes. Mistake 1. Confusing can with could. In present situations, use can. In past situations, use could. I can help you tomorrow is present. I could help you yesterday, but I was busy. Mistake 2. Mixing up have to and must. They're very similar, but have to is more flexible. I must finish this today sounds stricter than I have to finish this today, though they mean roughly the same thing. Mistake 3. Not using continuous tenses when you should. If someone is doing something right now, don't say, "What do you do?" Say, "What are you doing?" The continuous tense shows action in progress. Mistake 4. Forgetting to add the helping verb in continuous tenses. Don't say, "She cooking dinner." Always say, "She is cooking dinner." Level 5. Past stories, future plans, and conditional thinking. Level 5 is where your English really matures. You're no longer just describing what's happening now. You're telling complex stories about the past, making detailed plans for the future, and thinking through hypothetical situations. You're developing the linguistic tools that allow you to think deeply in English. The past continuous and its uses. At Level 5, we deepen our use of past tenses. The past continuous becomes much more powerful because it allows you to set scenes, create atmosphere, and show what was happening when something else occurred. The sun was setting beautifully as I walked home from work. This sets a scene. I was reading my favorite book when the earthquake occurred. This shows what you were doing when something happened. They were having dinner when they heard the news. This provides context. Here's a Level 5 story that makes excellent use of past continuous. The unexpected message. I was sitting in my office on a normal Tuesday afternoon, working on my project deadline, when my phone suddenly buzzed. I was concentrating hard on my presentation, trying to make sure everything was perfect. My colleague was working at the desk next to me, typing furiously on her keyboard. The entire office was quiet except for the occasional sounds of typing and quiet conversations. When I looked at my phone, I saw a message from my mother. She was writing that my grandmother had been taken to the hospital. My heart sank. I was trying to process what I was reading when my supervisor approached my desk. She was asking me about the project, but I couldn't focus anymore. I told her about the situation, and she immediately told me to go home and be with my family. I was gathering my things when another message came through. This time it was from my father. He was writing that everything was going to be okay, that grandmother had just had a fall and they were doing tests. I was driving to the hospital, thinking about grandmother's most recent visit to our house. She was teaching me how to make her special recipes just 2 weeks ago. I was frustrated at myself for not spending more time with her. I was worried about her health and couldn't focus on anything else. When I arrived at the hospital, my entire family was waiting in the lounge. My mother was reading a magazine to calm her nerves. My father was talking to the doctor. My aunt was holding my younger sister, who was crying. The doctor came out while we were all sitting there, and he told us that grandmother was stable and would be fine. Everyone was relieved. Later that evening, when I was sitting with grandmother in her hospital room, she was telling me not to worry so much. She was smiling weakly, but was in good spirits. I realized how much I loved her and how important family was. Future tense, will and going to. At level 5, you need to be fluent with both will and going to for talking about the future. These have slightly different uses. Will is used for decisions made at the moment of speaking or predictions about the future. I will help you with that. A decision made right now. It will rain tomorrow. A prediction. She will become a doctor. A prediction based on her abilities. Going to is used for plans that are already made or intentions that are clear. I'm going to travel to Japan next year. Already planned. We're going to meet at 6 o'clock. Already arranged. He's going to propose to his girlfriend. The intention is clear. Here's a level 5 conversation about future plans.
What are you going to do after you finish your current job?
I've been thinking about that quite a bit. I'm going to take a 3-month break to travel. I've always wanted to visit Southeast Asia, and I think this is the perfect opportunity. After that, I'm going to look for a new job, preferably something that allows me to work with international projects.
That sounds exciting. Are you going to travel alone?
No, my best friend is going to join me for part of the trip. She can only take 2 months off, but we're going to travel together for the first 6 weeks. Then I'll continue alone for a month.
Do you already have an itinerary planned?
I have a rough plan. I'm going to start in Thailand, then visit Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos. I haven't booked flights yet, but I will do that soon. I'm going to stay in hostels and small guest houses to keep costs down. I'll also work on freelance projects while traveling to earn some money.
Your plan sounds really well thought out. I think you will have an amazing experience. Will you keep in touch while you're traveling?
Of course, I will send you photos and messages. I will definitely miss everyone at home, but I think this trip will help me find clarity about what I want in life. Conditional sentences, first and second conditional. At level 5, we introduce conditionals, which allow you to talk about possible situations and their likely outcomes. The first conditional talks about real possibilities in the future. If it rains tomorrow, we will cancel the picnic. This is a real possibility. If she studies hard, she will pass the exam. This is likely to happen. If you exercise regularly, you will feel healthier. This is probable. The second conditional talks about imaginary or unlikely situations. If I won the lottery, I would travel around the world. This is unlikely. If I were taller, I could be a basketball player. This is hypothetical. If I had more time, I would learn to play the piano. Here's a level 5 story using conditionals. The crossroads decision. Marcus is at a crossroads in his life. He's been offered 2 job opportunities, and he's trying to decide which one to take. He's been discussing the decision with his wife, and they've been analyzing the pros and cons of each job. The first job is with a big international company. It pays very well and offers great benefits. However, it requires him to travel frequently, which means he would spend many nights away from home. If he takes this job, he will earn significantly more money. If he takes this job, his family will have more financial security. However, if he travels constantly, he will miss important moments with his children. The second job is with a local nonprofit organization. The salary is lower, but the work is meaningful because he would be helping people directly. If he takes this job, he will have more time with his family. If he works locally, he will be home every evening. However, if the salary is lower, they will need to adjust their lifestyle and budget more carefully. Marcus's wife says, "If you were happy with the work, you would be happy overall. If you're miserable in your job, it will affect your family life too." She makes a good point. Marcus realizes that if he chooses the first job, he will have more money but less time with family. If he chooses the second job, he will have more family time but less money. If he could have both, that would be perfect, but that's not an option. Finally, Marcus decides to take the second job. He says, "If I had to choose, I would choose time with my family. Money is important, but it's not everything. If we need more money, I can always take on freelance work, but I can't get back the time I missed with my children." Level 5 conversations, more complex discussions. Conversation about life choices.
Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like if you'd made different choices?
All the time. I think about my career choices quite often. If I had studied engineering instead of art, I would probably have a higher salary now. But if I'd done that, I wouldn't be passionate about my work. I would be just earning money without enjoying what I do. I think I made the right choice.
That's a good perspective. Do you have any regrets about your life choices?
I have a few minor regrets, but nothing major. I wish I had traveled more when I was younger. I was so focused on school and work that I didn't explore the world. Now I'm older, and traveling is more complicated with family responsibilities, but I'm trying to make up for it by planning family trips.
It's never too late to start traveling. Have you thought about what you'd like to do in the future?
Yes, I've been thinking about taking a sabbatical in 5 years. If everything goes well financially, I'd like to take a year off and travel extensively with my family. We would visit countries that my children have been curious about. I think that would be a wonderful experience for all of us.
That's a fantastic goal. If you do take that sabbatical, where would you go?
We'd probably start with Europe. If we had enough time, we'd visit at least 10 countries. After Europe, we might go to Asia. If the experience goes well, we might even consider homeschooling the children while we travel. That way, they could learn about the world while we're traveling through it.
Level 6. Sophistication, subtlety, and social nuance. You've made it to level 6, and this is where English becomes truly sophisticated. You're not just communicating basic information anymore. You're expressing nuanced opinions, using complex sentence structures, employing phrasal verbs that native speakers use constantly, and demonstrating the kind of fluency that makes conversations flow naturally. Relative clauses, adding detail and sophistication. Relative clauses allow you to provide additional information about nouns in your sentences. They make your sentences richer and more detailed. The man who lives next door is a doctor. The relative clause, who lives next door, gives us information about the man. The book that I recommended is amazing. The relative clause, that I recommended, tells us which book. The restaurant where we ate dinner last week was excellent. Here's a level 6 story using relative clauses extensively.
The art exhibition. The gallery that opened last month in the downtown area is hosting an exhibition that showcases work from local artists, which is something the community has been wanting for many years. The opening night, which fell on a Saturday evening, was attended by hundreds of people who were interested in contemporary art. Among the artists whose work was featured is Elena, a painter who has been creating art for 15 years. Her paintings, which explore themes of nature and identity, have attracted the attention of several collectors who have purchased her work in the past. The gallery owner, who discovered Elena's work at a community art fair, decided to feature her prominently in this exhibition. Elena's signature piece, titled The Wanderer, which took her 6 months to complete, was the centerpiece of her collection. The painting, which measures 3 meters by 4 meters, depicts a figure walking through a landscape that seems to change and shift around her. Visitors, many of whom had never seen her work before, were moved by the emotional depth of her paintings. One collector, whose name Elena had heard many times but never met, approached her at the exhibition. He said he was interested in purchasing several pieces. Elena, whose dream had always been to support herself through her art, felt overwhelmed with emotion. The conversation that followed changed the trajectory of her career. By the end of the night, she had sold 5 paintings, which meant she could finally quit her part-time job and focus exclusively on her art. Phrasal verbs, the language of native speakers. Phrasal verbs are combinations of verbs and prepositions that create meanings that are often different from what you'd expect. Native speakers use these constantly, and at level 6, you need to master them. Here are some common ones. Give up, to stop trying. Don't give up, you can do it. Look after, to take care of. I look after my younger siblings. Run out of, to have no more of something. We ran out of milk. Turn on or off. Can you turn on the lights? Put up with, to tolerate. I can't put up with this noise anymore. Come across, to encounter unexpectedly. I came across an old friend yesterday. Figure out, to understand or solve. Can you help me figure out this problem? Break down, to stop functioning or cry. My car broke down yesterday. Pick up, to collect or learn. Can you pick up bread from the store? Sort out, to organize or resolve. We need to sort out the details of the trip. The Project Manager's Day. David, a project manager, woke up feeling stressed about the deadline his team had to meet. As he was getting ready for work, he realized they were running out of time. He decided to turn on his computer early to check emails before the office opened. When he arrived at work, he discovered that one of the team members had to deal with a family emergency and couldn't come in. David had to figure out how to redistribute the work among the remaining team members. His colleague Sarah, who had always been reliable, said she would take on extra responsibilities. David appreciated her dedication and told her so. During the morning meeting, the team discussed the challenges they were facing. One team member said he was going to give up on the project if they didn't get more resources. David had to motivate him and help him see that they could overcome this obstacle. He said, "We've put up with difficult situations before, and we've always come through. We need to pull together now." The afternoon brought another challenge. They came across a technical issue that nobody had anticipated. David called an emergency meeting to sort out the problem. The technical team worked frantically to figure out what was causing the issue. They eventually broke down the problem into smaller parts and addressed each one systematically. By evening, the team had managed to turn around the situation. They were still on track to meet the deadline. David thanked everyone for their hard work and dedication. As he was leaving the office, he thought about how important it was to look after his team's well-being. He decided to take them out for dinner to celebrate their collective effort. Level 6. Expressing opinions with sophistication. At level 6, you need to express opinions with nuance and support them with reasoning. I think that, simple opinion. In my opinion, formal opinion. I believe that, strong conviction. From my perspective, personal viewpoint. It seems to me that, observation-based opinion. I'm of the opinion that, formal expression. Here's a level 6 conversation about education.
What's your perspective on online education versus traditional classroom education?
That's an interesting question. I believe that both have their merits, depending on the student and the subject matter. From my perspective, traditional education has been valuable because it provides direct interaction with teachers and peers. However, I'm increasingly of the opinion that online education is becoming equally effective, particularly for adult learners who need flexibility. It seems to me that the future probably involves a blend of both approaches. Some subjects require hands-on practice that's difficult to replicate online, while other subjects are perfectly suitable for online learning. I think that students today are fortunate because they have more options than previous generations. That said, I do have concerns about the social aspects of purely online education. I believe that peer interaction is crucial for developing social skills and creating a supportive learning community. In my opinion, schools shouldn't abandon the traditional model entirely, but they should definitely embrace online options as a complement to traditional education.
You've given this considerable thought. What would be your ideal learning environment?
I believe that the ideal would combine the best of both worlds. I would want students to have access to expert instructors, both in person and online. I think that peer collaboration should happen both in physical classrooms and in virtual environments. It seems to me that technology should enhance learning, not replace human connection. In my view, we should be moving toward hybrid models that offer flexibility while maintaining the personal connections that make education meaningful. Level 6 Cause and Effect, Advanced Connectors. At level 6, we use more sophisticated connectors to show relationships between ideas. Therefore, shows result or conclusion. She studied hard, therefore she passed the exam. Consequently. However, on the other hand, although shows contrast. Although the weather was bad, we decided to go hiking. Despite shows contrast. Despite his lack of experience, he performed remarkably well. In addition, shows addition. In addition to his regular job, he volunteers at a charity. Moreover, shows addition with emphasis. The price is reasonable. Moreover, the quality is exceptional. Here's a level 6 paragraph using these connectors. The sustainability dilemma. Many people understand the importance of environmental conservation. However, they struggle to implement sustainable practices in their daily lives. They know that plastic waste is a significant problem. Therefore, they attempt to reduce their plastic consumption. On the other hand, convenient disposable items are often cheaper and more readily available than sustainable alternatives. Consequently, people often find themselves torn between environmental responsibility and practical convenience. Despite the awareness campaigns and educational programs, change has been slow. In addition to individual challenges, industries have been reluctant to invest in sustainable production methods because of costs. Moreover, consumers' willingness to pay premium prices for eco-friendly products is limited. Although governments have introduced regulations in some places, the implementation has been inconsistent. Nevertheless, there are positive developments. Younger generations, despite their own challenges, seem more committed to sustainability than previous generations. Furthermore, technological innovations are making sustainable products more affordable and accessible. Therefore, there is reason for cautious optimism about our environmental future. Level 6 Conversation Fillers and Natural Speech. Well, Actually, you know, I mean, sort of, kind of, to be honest, basically, literally, and I suppose. Here's a level 6 conversation with natural fillers.
So, have you decided what you're going to do after graduation?
Well, I've been thinking about it constantly, to be honest. I mean, there are several options, and I'm sort of torn between them. Basically, I could pursue a master's degree, or I could start working immediately. Actually, I've been leaning toward work because, I think I need some practical experience before going back to school.
That makes sense. Do you have any job prospects?
Well, I've been interviewing with a few companies. One of them, is in the tech industry, and another is in finance. I mean, both are interesting, but they're quite different in terms of lifestyle. The tech company basically offers more flexibility and a younger work environment. The finance job sort of offers better job security and higher pay. So I'm, trying to weigh the pros and cons.
It's a big decision. What's your gut telling you?
Honestly, I think I want the tech job. I mean, money is important, but I think I'd be happier in a more creative environment. To be honest, I feel like I'd regret not trying the startup culture while I'm young, If I want stability later, I can always move to corporate work. Level 7. Mastery, Fluency, and Natural Expression. Here we are at Level 7, the pinnacle of this journey. This isn't about learning new grammar structures or vocabulary lists anymore. Level 7 is about refinement, authenticity, and the kind of fluency that allows you to express yourself with complete confidence in any situation. At this level, you're not translating from your native language to English in your head. You're thinking directly in English. Passive voice, shifting focus and formality. The passive voice shifts focus from the doer of the action to the action itself, or the recipient. It's especially common in formal writing and professional communication. Active, the company hired 200 new employees. Passive, 200 new employees were hired by the company. Active, Shakespeare wrote Hamlet. Passive, Hamlet was written by Shakespeare. Here's a Level 7 news-style paragraph using passive voice. Breaking news! A major breakthrough in cancer research has been announced by scientists at the International Medical Institute. A new treatment method has been developed that shows promise in targeting advanced tumors. The research was conducted over a period of 5 years and involved collaboration from 12 different countries. More than 500 patients were selected for the clinical trials. Initial results have been reported as very encouraging by the research team. The treatment has been praised by medical professionals worldwide. Further testing will be conducted before the treatment can be approved for general use. The findings have been published in several prestigious medical journals. A full report will be presented at the annual medical conference next month. Advanced time expressions. At Level 7, you use sophisticated time expressions that provide precise timing and context. As soon as, the moment something happens. As soon as I finish work, I'll call you. By the time, before a certain moment. By the time I arrived, the movie had already started. While, during the same period, while I was studying, my friend was working. Meanwhile, at the same time. Meanwhile, the team was preparing for the presentation. Eventually, after a long time, after years of trying, he eventually achieved his goal. In the meantime, during the intervening period. In the meantime, we'll focus on other projects. Here's a Level 7 story using these expressions. The waiting game. Anna had been waiting for the job interview results for 3 weeks. By the time the email finally arrived, she had almost given up hope. While she had been anxious during those 3 weeks, she had also been applying to other positions. Meanwhile, her friends had been encouraging her to stay positive. As soon as she opened the email, her heart raced. She had been selected for the position. The company was offering her the exact role she had wanted. In the meantime, she had received another job offer from a different company. She now had to make a choice between two opportunities. Eventually, after careful consideration, she decided to accept the first offer because it aligned better with her long-term career goals. As she prepared to start her new job, many things needed to be organized. By the time her start date arrived, she had completed all the necessary paperwork and had begun preparing mentally for the role. Her family was excited for her, and they supported her decision completely. Indirect speech and reporting. At level 7, you can report what others have said without using direct quotes. This requires changing tenses and pronouns. Direct: I will travel next month, she said. Indirect: she said that she would travel next month. Direct: I am studying hard, Tom explained. Indirect: Tom explained that he was studying hard. Here's a level 7 paragraph using indirect speech. The interview. During the interview, the hiring manager asked Michael why he was interested in the position. Michael explained that he had been passionate about the company's mission for years. The manager then asked him about his previous experience. Michael mentioned that he had worked in 3 different companies and had developed diverse skills in project management. The manager inquired whether Michael could handle tight deadlines. Michael assured her that he had consistently met deadlines throughout his career and that they thrived under pressure. The manager asked if he had any questions. Michael asked about the company's approach to professional development. The manager replied that the company invested significantly in employee training and that they offered opportunities for career advancement. She also mentioned that the company culture emphasized collaboration and innovation. At the end of the interview, the manager told Michael that they would contact him within a week with their decision. Michael thanked her for the opportunity and expressed his enthusiasm about potentially joining the team. The subjunctive mood, expressing necessity and importance. The subjunctive mood, though not as common in modern English as in other languages, is still used to express importance, necessity, and wishes. It is important that he arrive on time, not arrives. I suggest that she take the job, not takes. I wish that I were taller, not was. Complex sentences with multiple clauses. At level 7, you can construct complex sentences with multiple clauses that work together seamlessly. Example 1. Although she had spent years preparing for the exam, which was known to be one of the most difficult in the country, she still felt nervous when she walked into the testing center where hundreds of other candidates were waiting to take the same exam. Example 2. Since the project, which was initiated by our company 5 years ago, has finally been completed, the team, whose dedication has been remarkable throughout this period, can finally take a well-deserved break. Level 7 conversations, deep and meaningful. About purpose and meaning.
Do you ever think about the deeper meaning of life? What gives you a sense of purpose? I do think about that quite often, particularly when I'm going through challenging periods. For me, purpose comes from a few different sources. First, there's my family. Supporting them, watching my children grow, and being present for important moments. Those things give my life tremendous meaning. But it goes beyond that, really. I also feel a strong sense of purpose through my work. I believe that contributing to something larger than myself, whether that's my profession or volunteer work, is essential for feeling fulfilled. What's interesting is that my understanding of purpose has evolved significantly over time. When I was younger, I thought purpose came primarily from career achievement and financial success. Now, having experienced some of both, I realize that those things are important but insufficient for true fulfillment. I've come to believe that purpose is found in connections with people, with nature, with ideas that matter to us. That's a profound perspective. Has any particular experience shaped your current understanding? Several experiences, actually. When my father became ill a few years ago, I had to rearrange my priorities completely. I took time off work to spend with him. During that time, which turned out to be his last year, I realized that I didn't once regret the career opportunities I missed. Instead, I was grateful for every conversation we had, every story he told me. That experience fundamentally shifted my understanding of what's truly important. It taught me that meaning isn't created by external achievements, but by the quality of our relationships and the impact we have on others' lives. Understanding idioms and cultural references. At level 7, you should be comfortable using idioms and understanding cultural references. Common idioms. Break a leg. Good luck. Raining cats and dogs. Raining heavily. Cost an arm and a leg. Very expensive. Hit the books. Start studying. Call it a day. Stop working. Piece of cake. Very easy. Under the weather. Feeling sick. Burning bridges. Damaging relationships. A dime a dozen. Very common. Missing the point. Not understanding the main idea. Here's a level 7 conversation using idioms naturally. How was your job interview?
It was frankly nerve-wracking. I had prepared so much, hitting the books every evening for 2 weeks, studying the company's background, anticipating questions. When I walked in, though, I realized I was overthinking it. The interview went better than expected, actually. They asked some expected questions, but we also had some interesting discussions about the industry. It wasn't a piece of cake. They asked some really challenging questions, but I felt like I communicated my thoughts clearly.
That's great. Are you optimistic about the outcome?
I'm cautiously optimistic. They mentioned they'll make a decision next week. I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch, as they say, but I do feel like I made a good impression. If I don't get it, I won't be burning bridges by having a bad attitude. It's a competitive position, and there were many qualified candidates. But either way, I feel like the interview preparation wasn't wasted effort. The final level 7 story, a complete narrative. Let me leave you with a complete level 7 narrative that incorporates everything we've discussed. Sarah hadn't been to her hometown for nearly a decade. Life had taken her away. University in the capital, career opportunities in different cities, marriage and children who had never met most of their extended family. Although her parents had visited her several times and they had frequent video calls, it wasn't quite the same as being there, surrounded by the familiar streets and faces of her childhood. When she finally decided to make the trip, which involved driving for 8 hours with 2 young children, she felt a mixture of emotions. On one hand, she was excited to show her children the places where she had grown up. On the other hand, she was anxious about how much things might have changed and how she might feel walking through streets she hadn't seen in so long. As she drove into town and turned onto her old street, her eyes filled with tears. The neighborhood where she had spent her formative years was both familiar and different. While some houses had been renovated and new shops had opened, the fundamental character of the place remained unchanged. The old coffee shop where she had done homework as a teenager was still there, though it had new owners. As soon as she arrived at her parents' house, they rushed outside to greet her. Her mother hugged her tightly, not wanting to let go. Her father, though quieter in his expression, had tears in his eyes. Sarah's children, who had been eager and somewhat uncertain about meeting their grandparents in person, quickly warmed to them. Within an hour, her father was teaching her son how to play cricket in the yard, while her mother was in the kitchen preparing dinner, the same dishes she had made throughout Sarah's childhood. Over the following days, Sarah visited all the significant places of her past. She went to her old school, which had changed significantly. New buildings had been constructed, the playground had been completely redesigned. Yet she could still find the tree under which she had sat with her best friend at lunch. She visited the library where she had spent countless afternoons reading. She encountered some old friends who, while they had changed physically and in their circumstances, still had that same spark of familiarity when they laughed or spoke about their shared memories. One afternoon, Sarah found herself sitting on the bench by the riverside where she used to come to think about her future. Her mother joined her, and they sat in silence for a while. Eventually, her mother said, "I'm so glad you're home. I know life has taken you to places we never imagined, but I want you to know that this place will always be your home." Sarah squeezed her mother's hand and said, "I realize now that I should have visited more often. I got so caught up in building my life elsewhere that I didn't return to maintain the connections here. I'm going to do better." Before returning to the city, Sarah made a promise to herself and to her family that she would return more regularly. She realized that even though she had grown and her life had taken her in different directions, the roots she had here, the people who had shaped her, and the memories of this place would always be a fundamental part of who she was. As she drove away, her children asked when they could come back. Sarah smiled and said, "Soon, much sooner than last time." Practical recommendations for your continued growth. All right, we've traveled through all 7 levels together, and you might be wondering, "Lily, how do I maintain this momentum? How do I keep improving?" Let me share some practical strategies that have worked for thousands of learners. Daily practice habits that actually work. First, consistency beats intensity. It's better to practice 20 minutes every single day than to cram for 3 hours once a week. Your brain needs regular exposure to English to build neural pathways. Find a time of day that works for you and make it non-negotiable. Some people practice first thing in the morning with their coffee. Others do it during their commute or before bed. Second, make English a part of your environment, not just a separate study activity. Change your phone's language settings to English. Watch your favorite shows in English with subtitles if you need them. Read books, news articles, and social media in English. Listen to English podcasts during your commute. The more you're exposed to English naturally, the faster your brain will internalize it. The power of speaking, even when alone. Many learners neglect speaking practice because they're self-conscious or don't have a partner. But speaking alone is incredibly powerful. Talk to yourself in English, describe your day, narrate what you're doing, have conversations with imaginary people. This might feel silly at first, but it's one of the most effective techniques for developing fluency and confidence. Record yourself speaking and listen back. You'll notice your mistakes, your pronunciation issues, and areas where you lack vocabulary. This self-awareness is invaluable for improvement. Finding language exchange partners. If possible, find someone to practice with. This could be a native speaker who wants to learn your language or another learner at a similar level. Language exchange can happen face-to-face, over video calls, or even through messaging apps. The key is having someone to interact with in real time, which forces you to think quickly and respond authentically. Building vocabulary strategically. Don't try to memorize random words. Instead, focus on high-frequency words and words related to your interests and profession. If you love cooking, learn cooking vocabulary. If you work in finance, learn financial terminology. This targeted approach means you'll actually use what you're learning. When you learn new words, don't just memorize them in isolation. Learn them in context. Write example sentences. Use them immediately in conversations. The more actively you engage with new vocabulary, the more it sticks. Dealing with plateaus. Every learner hits plateaus where progress seems to stop. This is actually a sign that you're consolidating what you've learned. The best way through a plateau is to change your approach. If you've been using one app, try a different method. If you've been studying grammar, shift focus to conversation. If you've been practicing alone, find a partner. Sometimes mixing things up is exactly what you need to restart progress. The importance of listening. Many learners focus too much on speaking and neglect listening, but listening is actually the gateway to fluency. Your brain learns new words, phrases, and patterns primarily through listening. Spend significant time listening to English. Listen to podcasts, audiobooks, TED Talks, interviews, and songs. Even if you don't understand everything, the exposure is incredibly valuable. Over time, your ear will tune in and comprehension will improve dramatically. Embracing your mistakes. Here's something fundamental that I want you to internalize. Mistakes are not failures. They're learning opportunities. Every mistake you make and correct is a lesson your brain learns. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. What matters is how you respond to those mistakes. Do you laugh and correct yourself, or do you stop speaking out of shame? The former leads to fluency. The latter leads to silence. The role of creativity and enjoyment. Finally, make your English learning enjoyable. Don't approach it like a chore. Engage with content you genuinely care about. If you love movies, watch movies in English. If you love music, listen to English music and try to understand the lyrics. If you love writing, start a blog in English. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows in English. When you enjoy what you're doing, you'll do it more and you'll do it better. Your brain is more engaged, you're more likely to stick with it long term, and the whole experience becomes rewarding rather than exhausting. As we wrap up this journey through 7 levels of English mastery, I want to leave you with some final thoughts that go beyond just language learning. Learning a language is one of the most rewarding things you can do. It's not just about being able to communicate with more people, though that's wonderful. It's about opening doors to new cultures, new ideas, new ways of thinking. When you learn English, you gain access to the largest body of information, entertainment, and human connection available in the world. But more than that, the process of learning teaches you about yourself. It teaches you that you can accomplish difficult things. It teaches you that consistency and persistence pay off. It teaches you that mistakes are part of growth, not signs of failure. Your journey through these 7 levels doesn't end when you finish this episode. In fact, it really begins now. What you do with this knowledge, how consistently you practice, how you approach challenges, these will determine your success. I encourage you to identify where you currently are on this 7-level journey. Are you in level 1, taking your first tentative steps? Are you in the middle levels, building fluency and confidence? Or are you in the advanced levels, refining your skills and reaching for native-like proficiency? Wherever you are, know that you're moving in the right direction. Set specific goals for your English learning. Instead of, I want to be fluent, set concrete goals like, I want to have a 15-minute conversation in English without stopping, or I want to read a book in English, or I want to give a presentation to my colleagues in English. Specific goals are motivating and measurable. And please, be patient with yourself. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel like you're not making progress. That's normal. Those moments of seeming stagnation are often when your brain is consolidating knowledge. Trust the process. Connect with other learners. Join online communities, find study partners, engage with people who are on similar journeys. Knowing that you're not alone in this challenge is incredibly motivating. You'll learn from others' strategies, be inspired by their progress, and hopefully inspire them with yours. Finally, remember why you started. Whether it's for career advancement, for the joy of communication, for travel, or simply for the challenge of it, hold on to that reason. On days when you feel like quitting, return to that original motivation. It will carry you through. Thank you so much for spending this time with me exploring the 7 levels of English mastery. It's been my absolute pleasure to guide you through this journey. Remember, you have everything you need to succeed. You have the ability, the tools, and the determination. Now it's time to go out there and prove to yourself what you can accomplish. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with anyone you know who's learning English. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Leave comments about your own English learning journey. I read every single one. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and celebrate every small victory along the way. Before you know it, you'll be communicating in English with confidence and ease. I'm Lily, and I'll be here cheering you on every step of the way. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Until next time, take care and keep speaking English.